good evening wherever you are, and thank you very much for joining us. Welcome everybody, and thank you very much for turning up, and good morning and good evening and good day wherever you are in the world. We've never done this before, and I'm really relying on Richard and Karen who are here to help me. So if you want to adjust your speaker, this is about the volume I'll probably speak at, because you know, in my past I used to teach horse riding, and I could control a whole field full of ponies and children. So if I'm a bit louder than your normal, I apologise, but just you might want to adjust your speaker now. I'd really like to go through the questions and answers that many of you have sent in, and I think that they are quite, some of them quite general and will apply to everybody. So if I just kick off straight away, oh yes, and then I'm going to show you some of the things that are coming up for next year. So I've got a few bits and pieces just to wave at you, okay, just to see if you like them. I think it'd be really good for me if you guys go, yes or no, I don't like it. You know, you can have your say later, okay? So you're very important to me, and I'm very grateful to you for being here. So the first question is, thank you for the videos on how to wet block using Appleton's Crewel rules. Can you explain how to finish pieces that are stitched with other threads that may not be colour fast, such as Renaissance dyeing wool? Ah, that's obviously somebody, she's anonymous, but she has said exactly what is my biggest fear. So at the moment I'm 7/8 of the way through a second Aesop's Fable frame, and I'm going to wet block this badly, if you know what I mean. So when I wet block things, I actually use my shower hose and I put on gallons and gallons of water, and any excess dye would be washed out. But I'm aware that people are nervous when they're blocking, and they just do sort of very delicate spraying, but that's not the way at all with blocking. You know, if you saw the professionals do it, they're putting on bucket loads of water, and then any excess dye runs off. It's a bit like when you buy indigo dyed jeans or dress from India. The blue comes off on your legs. Do you remember those awful dresses in the 70s? Some of you won't, you're far too young. Anyway, so the trick with blocking, if you're using random threads, is to keep the water going and going and going and going. But I always test, block everything if I've introduced extra threads, and in particular extra beads, because beads are sometimes not actually completely colour fast, really annoyingly. So I would use practice linen, which with Aesop's Fables would put in, and with other things would put in, and you actually can block that practice linen. And remember that every thread you introduce from your own stash, just put a few little stitches in on the practice linen, and then before you block the final piece, then you can think, well, am I going to block it, am I not? Very large pieces, I never block. I actually just hang them on a pole. I make a hem on the top and put a channel in, and I put a stick through it. I think it's not going to be wet. I stick it through, and I stick another one through the base, and I weight it so that that hangs right. And you can hang it you can hang it one way, and then you can hang it on the opposite edge, and do all 4 edges, and you'll find it comes out. But the main reason for blocking is for correcting the mistakes. If you've actually stitched something with very tight tension on your frame, it will never need blocking. So, you know, just make sure that it's drum tight on your frame. So not too much wine as you go through the evening, and, you know, not too much thrilling things on the telly. Just remember to keep checking and tapping your frame and running your finger around the surface to make sure it's flat. There's been a lot of chat with 1 or 2 people about padding. When you've got, I'll just show you this. This is, I'm trying to stitch snow. This is very not me. It's not at all historic. It's so kind of kitsch Victorian-y thing, but you know, it's from my postman's daughter, and I'm racing to finish, but I'm quite excited to stitch those. But anyway, these bits at the edge, where you get it sort of unstitched area and then heavily stitched area, you'll find that that is difficult, and to keep it tight, actually put tissue paper as well as the plastic underneath. Many of you will be, just raise your hand, familiar with this plastic technique I use to keep it tight. So you'll see it's not a wrapped frame, it's actually just using the plastic or cling film or anything like that, and then if you're worried about it being not tight enough, then just put a bit of tissue next to the heavily stitched area. Do you see that? So I haven't put any tissue in there because I'm racing and I should have done. I should have remembered to do that. But there's a lot to remember this time of year. So I'm going to put that down. Right, now the next question is, you've just released the Aesop's Fables. Are you already working on a new design for 2021? That's from Elwyn from Melbourne, Australia. Wow, that is a big question. Can I leave that to the end? Karen or Richard, can you remind me to, or Elwyn, perhaps you can wave at me and remind me to answer that in a minute. So somebody says, Sally, my bullion knots sometimes look like tornadoes. I love that. I cannot find milliner's needles where I am, so I have to use my normal needles. I know this is part of the problem, but advice on bullion knots would be lovely. Sally, I hate bullion knots with wool. I just loathe them. I would always instead whip a thread. So I'd use whipped stem stitch or whipped spider's web every time rather than bullions. I learned from Owen Davies from the Royal School, and we did a project together making Lady Anne's Pillow in about 2001 with Jackie Carey that led on to Jackie and I working on sweet bags and things. But you know, Owen's brilliant at it. He's a man, he's really strong, he's really got strong muscles in his hands, and I haven't. And he said that you use a funnel needle. Well, I'd never heard of a funnel needle at that stage, but it's a straight needle with a very small point, and it looks like a ballpoint pen. So, you know, unless you've got that needle, I don't see how you can really make a lovely bullion knot, because normal needles go narrower gradually at the end, and that is not suitable for bullion knots. So there are lots of things online about bullion knots, but I wouldn't use wool. Right, I wouldn't use wool, I wouldn't use a normal needle, and I wouldn't do them because I don't like them. So, and I think they look a bit, I don't like the look of them either very much. So if you're going to make bullion knots, funnel needle and use silk or cotton or a more sympathetic thread. So, and don't use a very tightly twisted thread that's like a rope, and also don't use a very soft thread, so it's kind of got a medium twist to it as well. So just experiment with the different threads in your stash. And I'm sure all these people who have come in this morning have a stash.
Phillipa, you're on mute.
Oh God.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Oh my God, what happened there? Don't use a normal thread. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Oh, and I was thinking, that was a good answer. And you didn't hear it. I'm so sorry. We'll get better at this. Honestly, don't go anywhere. So you need a funnel needle, which is straight and then narrows at the bottom, not a normal needle because it narrows as it goes down and it ruins the knot. So it's always going to be inconsistent. You need not to use wool and not to use a tightly twisted thread that's like a rope. So you need a medium twist on your thread and not wool, as far as I'm concerned. You very rarely see bullion knots on crewel work. Very, very rarely on historic crewel work. And I tend to go for the stitches that the professionals in the past thought were great and wanted to do time and time again on huge pieces. I don't go for the stitches that somebody's thinking, oh, I'm going to show off and make sure everybody knows how brilliant I am. It wasn't like that. They were stitching a piece as piecework, being paid for it, and they wanted a fabulous result. So, you know, that goes with my thinking as well. I don't want life to be so challenging that I'm going to struggle with the wrong equipment and the wrong materials for the actual stitch. And I think matching all those together is very important. Anyway, lecture over on that one, sorry. Now, Sally's thinking, I didn't really want to know all that. Hi, Sally there. Hi, Sally. She's waved at me. She's fessed up to being who she is. That's very nice of you. Right, okay. So the next question, blocking when completed, should it lie flat or upright? I re-wet my project. This is Laurie, who actually has emailed me, I think, about a waterline she got on a feathers kit. Is that right? So anyway, she said, I re-wet my project and it was better, but it water stained at the top. I had it propped up instead of flat. Now that's really interesting. Blocking is obviously something that people have a problem with, and it's a big issue because you put all the effort into making something and then it's ruined if you have a watermark on. I mean, ruined. So when she wrote in, I said, re-block it quickly while it's still damp, you know, keep going.
but it could be that the watermark came from the pins, which might not have been rust proof. And it could have been that she didn't wet the very edges enough. It could have been residue coming from a cork board at the back. So it could be actual interference from, you know, something in the wood or in the cork that's coming through the holes that you make in the pins. So you want an inert fabric, really. And I found using the sort of packaging that's stiff, you know, polystyrene stuff, it's horrible on your teeth, that noise, oof, putting the pins in, but that's very good. Or if you go to a builder's merchant, and if you're really extreme, you will do that, go to a builder's merchant and buy something called Conti board in this part of the world, but it's actually a composite, and it's also inert. So try and find something that you can stick the pins into. But if anyone has good ideas on that and has found something, then that's great. You can buy professional finishing boards. They're expensive, but they're worth it. And I think I'm going to invest in one of those. So my friend Harriet in Memphis, that we mention a lot because she's our test stitcher, she's got a fantastic thing that cost a fortune. Perhaps I ought to buy now after about 50 years of stitching. So invest in that. Anyway, next one. Any ideas for embroidered pieces besides cushions? Well, I'd like you to contribute to this at the end of this little Q&A. I would say anything: bags, wall hangings, Christmas stockings, quilts. We've got a new set of animals coming out that would be great in quilts, not the Aesops, another one. And book covers. I've often seen book covers. In the arts and crafts movement, you see a lot of journals, and journals in this awful time we're going through at the moment are very in fashion, and covering them with something that's specifically that you've made, I think that's a lovely idea to do as well. I'm going to go back to the question about the what have you got coming out now, before you will switch off and go, God, where's the champagne? She promised coffee. What's going on? We take about 3 years to produce something like the Aesop's Fables. And it's because I'm faffing. I faff, I restitch, I pull back, I go forwards, I look at the old pieces. Usually I go back to a castle, I might have a look at what they've got in their collection. But it's been a real challenge for me because it's an arts and crafts design. And because my daughter Laura joined me in my business 5 years ago and is an arts and crafts specialist, I kind of felt I had to go that way a bit more. I didn't really want to be honest. But I started collecting the pieces and seeing that the stitches they were doing for fun. They weren't doing for effect in the same way that the professional embroiderers from the 17th and 18th century were, who were stitching to get something finished and sell it to an owner of a castle or country house. So when it was mainly men, it was a much different type of embroidery, I think. And when it became a hobby with women, they might have experimented more with the stitches, I would say, and bring in stitches instead of crossing over from black work into crewel work and stump work into crewel work like they did in the 17th century. They kind of played with everything. And one of the things that I've seen on 2 or 3 pieces that I've collected and in museums has been long and short buttonhole stitch, and that's actually great to do if you like doing long and short soft shading. Long and short buttonhole stitch is actually great fun as well and has a fantastic effect. So so that's taken a while to do, to be honest. And the other thing they did, just to explain a bit, was that they brought a base coat in. So say that big trunk there, that's got 3 layers of double thread. Can you just about see that? And then they've got, then what they did was they went back in with anything that they were using to finish off in the animal. They just popped it into the next door. So instead of casting off and thinking, I'm done there, they just added it as a little detail. And I'm enchanted with that. I think that's fabulous. So everybody's Aesop's Fable, which is that one, will be different. So I'm on my second go now with this. And they were also able to add colors. This color here is not on historic embroidery before dyes, but it's on embroidery since about 1850, a little bit later. When they brought in the synthetic finishes and the synthetic dyes, they could achieve much truer and much brighter colours. So you'll see the odd splash of something that you wouldn't necessarily see earlier on. Anyway, this is me in progress. We're living between houses at the moment. I have to just tell you, we're moving from holiday house to holiday house while my daughter isolates with her family in our house. So it's kind of, but we're also working in this studio. We're all isolating in different addresses. So it was interesting grabbing everything for today. So anyway, so you've seen these sorts of animals, I'm sure, all over the place being promoted because that's out as a kit. We're going to put them onto mugs. That's a bit of paper stuck on a mug. So that's a bit of fun. Because when we did mugs before, it's a really nice thing to give somebody if we've sent the wrong order, or have made a complete mistake, or they're having a nightmare day, or it's just a really nice thing. So that's going to be a set of 4 of the animals, and then we're also bringing out. I've talked a lot about the 17th century, and you'll be aware that I've been stuck there for 30 years with my kits, but I've gone into the 19th century. That's from Burghley House, and that's a professional piece. Can you see that? That's a professional piece from that era. And I think that, Karen, have we actually done a video on that piece? We haven't done. Oh, well, we'll do that. We'll do that. Karen will write this down, so it will happen, honestly. And this repeat design is on the bed head and in long lines down the width of the fabric on the bed. And it's because, if you own a castle or a stately home, you never really redecorate. You just decorate the room and then marry somebody else or inherit some other money and you decorate the next room. And Burghley House was so wealthy, from the time of Queen Elizabeth I. But that is just classic, absolutely classic Georgian, beautiful design. And on the original, I'll just show you something quite interesting. When you completely mess up and the satin stitches don't look good, they just popped a little fly stitch over the top of it. Do you see? And that is totally the attitude of crewel work, that when you don't do it correctly, and in here, you see the little veins are just stitched over. So you can always add something to correct something, or you could distract from the difficult edge. That's one thing we're bringing out. That will be a kit. This one, I was going to take to Australia, I think last year. And so I did this ages ago, and that's from a pelmet from the running fox, running hare and phoenix and tree. We've got 3 kits from that pelmet. This is the 4th one. So that has lots of detail from the other pieces. I'm sort of informed by the past, shall we say, in a very pretentious way, about how to add stitches and how to combine them. So that will be a quite advanced class and kit. I mean, Laura hates me putting things in level 3 because nobody ever buys them, but I like doing level 3 designs. So we have a little struggle because about 80% of our sales through COVID has been beginner kits. But you see, I think people are ready for the challenge now, but we battle it out. Then the other thing that I'm bringing out, which I stitched this as a pincushion for myself, right? That little spaniel, that is absolutely our rescue dog. It's fate that we got the most perfect dog. And I stitched that and I put it in a little frame like that. And that's from the Glamis King Malcolm's bed hangings that was stitched in 1683 by there were professional slips in needlepoint put onto it. And then, and it's in navy blue, it's in indigo dyed linen, very unusual. And they're used as wall hangings in Glamis Castle at the moment. And unfortunately, people get a bit close to them. But there are hundreds and hundreds of animals on this set of bed hangings. And obviously, you live in that part of Scotland and the winters are long and somebody wants to have fun. But each design on the original, and Harriet stitched this very kindly for me. Do you see it's got little cross stitches around it and little bits of something, French knots. You see, I think that those were added in the Victorian time. I think they were added later. And very often when people went to stay in these places, and I used to be married to a land agent and we used to go to these places a lot. And people would say, oh, just put a few stitches in on the bedspread. So instead of signing the visitor's book and writing a thank you letter, you actually did a little tiny bit of stitching. So there are places where you can go and see lovely bedspreads, and then they've got this weird little funny design in the corner that's nothing to do with anything. And I used to think, oh, that's the apprentice stitching that, but actually it was the guests going down. But you know, obviously it's different for each one. So those are a set. This is straight off the hoop. I sent Harriet a whole lot of little kits to do, and this is one of my favorites. I'm going to change this one. Don't tell her. I'm going to change that one, because the original, that I don't think she'll remember the original, but it had really lovely little splashes of color. So that, you see, is a very boring design, but when you actually add little bits in the wing, you know, you can add something in, and just little satin stitches make all the difference and lift things. Look at that, the color in that little one. You see, that's more fun. We don't really know which type of birds these are, by the way, but that, you know, bird on a bough, that is a classic late 17th century design. You see it everywhere. So those are some of the things that we're bringing out. Oh yes, here's another one. That's the same. And I think these would work really well as a quilt. And those are going to be very reasonable, and we're going to have those as a subscription for anybody, because we've noticed that it's not only beginners who buy the beginner kits, it's actually everybody does, because everybody needs a sort of day off when their heads are just thinking, oh, I'm just going to do something easy. So I sit and knit in the evenings, occasionally drive my husband mad, and I never use a pattern, and they're awful things, and nobody wears them except the dog. I promise you, my grandchildren just look at them and go, oh, is that a jumper for me? And then they put it on and they go, well, I'm not going to wear this, it's a bit itchy. So, you know, we do things because we enjoy making them, but I really hope that you, when you make something that's a kit from us, or is part of a course or a workshop you've been on, that you actually do finish it. And I would like to say that I would like you to finish things and make them something, because if it's half finished, it'll be thrown away. But if it's made into something, people value it more. So the stockings, I won't leave this in a drawer. I will be fighting on. This is the rabbits. So that's just for fun. I mean, people have made amazing stockings. Because with this free pattern download, it was, of course, Karen's idea, not mine. And loads of people sent in their images, so we're going to have a gallery of those, and that's the other sister is getting that one, but I haven't put any snow on it yet, and I haven't done the clouds. So, and I've got to do a whole unicorn with all sorts of things going on for my own grandchild. So I've got a lot to do before Christmas. But anyway, so have I answered anything, Karen? Karen, you're not supposed to even be here now.
No, I'm going back.
You've got.
Maybe just mention.
She's doing a degree. She's got to go and find something else.
I'm doing a master's, a different degree.
Oh, you're doing your master's?
30 years ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, that, you know. So, is there anything that we need to cover?
Just that we are working on the festival.
Oh, the festival. Oh my God, the festival. Right. Okay. So, obviously, we're completely gutted, having worked for several years with a whole team of people to put together an amazing festival in Appleby, which has been my ambition since I moved here 25 years ago, because it's really a charming and very friendly and very safe place. And we wanted people to be in the workshops in the hills and have a little bus going around the valley. It was all going to be gorgeous. And all these lovely people like Lanto Singh, who is like a god to me, because he wrote that amazing book for the Royal School of Needlework, and who amazingly is only about 5 years older than me. I thought he was about 100 to write a book like that. Amazing book. And all his fabulous friends were going to come and lecture and teach. And unfortunately, of course, it is just not safe to do that, you know, coming up. So we're not going to do that in 2021, but we're going to have several of the tutors are going to teach online courses. We've got lots of lecturers interested. We just want to make sure that it's to a good quality, a really good quality, because we try all the time, you know, to do something that's kind of better. So there are other people who are doing wonderful things, online lectures and all sorts of things, but we've got this community of people who are signed up to do it. So thank you for people who are staying with us, and thank you for anybody who would like to join us back into it. And the £50 deposit that everybody did has kind of enabled that team to kind of keep the faith and keep going with it. So it's not the money in the way, it's just the people thinking, well, it is going to happen, it is going to happen. So that's really Karen, and there's a girl called Pretty, and she is amazing project manager, and she's, you know, we've got a very professional team behind this slightly amateurish front that I present. So so I think we could unmute now, and no, I've just muted myself. Richard, are you going to unmute everybody? Can you do that?
Well, if they can unmute themselves.
Could you unmute yourselves
If not,
if you want to?
I will do it after that. Yeah, it's happening.
It's happening, great. So anyway, I'm going to wish you happy Christmas and raise a glass to you all. And thank you so much for joining me. And I now get the feedback. So, okay, Richard, you're good. Thank God Richard's a university lecturer and a pianist and a musician and can answer my technical things.
Have you got your volume up?
My volume
so
up?
You can hear everybody who says that.
Okay, oh, good idea, Richard. I need to have my volume so I can hear you. Now, I didn't have my volume up, you're quite right. I am now listening. Does you have any questions or would like to say anything? Could you just raise your hand? Yeah, Sally, you're still muted. Yeah, okay.
Can you hear me now? Yep. Thank you so much for doing this. It's so amazing. I'm so isolated in this country on my own doing this sort of thing. Thank you for that on the Boolean knots. I'm mortified because the history is very important to me. They're all coming out.
No, you don't have to do that. Just put something on top. Put a fly switch over the top, give it wings.
When I watched your blocking video, you said don't wash things. Unfortunately, I've got a house full of cats, and sometimes I end up having to wash things. What's the best way to do that? If we
you have to unpick the front, take it back to this, you know, just a cloth with an embroidery on. Take everything off it because the finishing cords also, you know, can be random and unreliable and what they call. Anyway, there's a word for it. When the dye leaks. But yeah, so you take everything off and then reblock it. And then when you do that, you wash it when it's pinned out. So I personally have perfectly good water in the north of England. So I can just very gently use a cold shower. I mean, not hold it from a height. I don't want to felt the wool, but just literally run it through. And you must make sure the water goes underneath the embroidery as well as on top. So
okay, thank
really,
you.
really block it, but I wouldn't loose wash anything because when you do that, you do unconsciously move it too much and you can felt it. But also the finish on the linen is brilliant because it makes, when you block it, this hasn't been blocked, but when you block it, you know, it goes rigid and flat. But when you wash it and you're going like this, you're going to make a crease mark in it when it comes out. So you must keep it flat.
Okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, I thought that was Richard was asking a question there. Oh, Eddie, yeah, sorry.
Hi, I just want to say thank you because it's been a hard time and your kids and your videos have been awesome. Katie is fabulous. I love watching her videos. She's adorable and she's amazing at stitching, and it's just been, I work in a hospital and it's been a godsend. So
really?
Just for being, you know, just for doing what you do. I've always loved it, and it just means even more now.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, honestly, I am a show off. I would admit I'm the last of 8 children and I've been waiting for my moment for anyone to listen to me all my life. So, but having done this job for the last 30 years, you know, I was a nurse as well, but I was in a psychiatric unit with young children in a child guidance clinic. But I ended up doing art therapy because obviously I was a useless nurse and I was much better at art therapy with kids. But, you know, I get where you're coming from. And, you know, next door to me was the main hospital and all the sirens going and all the stress and seeing all the nurses around the back of the building smoking and having a drink. You know, it's just such an amazingly stressful job if you're in, especially in mainstream nursing. And, you know, all these frontline people, incredible, what an incredible thing you're doing. It's so easy for me to just sit back and just withdraw at my age. You know, I own my house, I've got a nice husband, I've got a dog, I've got hens, and we've got, you know, 2 cats, we're fine. And we can have food delivered, but people actually get their kit together and get out there. you know, into that world, it must be very scary for you. And if it's any comfort to you at all, I will keep going because, you know, I'm fine. I'm missing my tribe. I'm really missing my tribe. So this is a way, this today and this evening we're doing another one, is a way to kind of try and connect a bit more, that maybe we'll have some Zoom stitching sessions together, or, you know, this is more for me than you. I'm just saying, it's more for me than you, because I'm used to coming out and meeting 20 people in a village hall in, you know, a remote part of New Zealand or whatever, and thinking, yay, this is exciting. And I've missed that terribly. And my husband's not really interested, to be honest. It's really not fair. And my daughter and I now, we split our houses so that we're in 2 different houses. And so I don't get to have my grandchildren stitching anymore. I think we're going to separate, and then maybe have 4 days at the end of the Christmas holidays where we can actually physically be together. So, you know, it's sort of working out how you can actually interact with people is so hard, isn't it? But
and a fabulous job. You know, I feel like just everybody, it's a great community to begin with, and I think the technology has really helped everybody during this time.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we're so lucky to have this and FaceTime. I've got other family, you know, my son's in Hong Kong with my other 2 grandchildren, Richard's grandchildren in New Zealand. You know, we see it from lots of different angles and the attitudes of all different countries. But the people who do Crewel work, I mean, honestly, they're nice people. Really nice people. I just don't get, other tutors say to me, oh, always get a difficult one in every class. You always get somebody complaining. You always get somebody on your phone at 9 o'clock every morning. You always get this. I'm thinking, I don't get that. Do they know? Because if they ring me and ask for something, I'm not going to do it. What? You know, what's happening here? Because actually, Frankie doesn't that, you know. And I'm lucky because I grew my business at a time, you know, it's always been steady. It's always been really steady. And I grew it. I've always done a few retreats and a few kits, and I've managed on my own a lot in life. And I'm really, really lucky. I learned that lesson quite early. And but when my daughter joined, she went, Mum, you're just doing everything wrong. And she changed everything and reached into the modern world basically 5 years ago, which you'll have noticed we've had weird adverts in strange places. You know, occasionally we've gone all wrong, but it's been so nice to do, say, the arts and crafts influence. Karen doing all the videoing, insisting we do a video every day, insisting, you know, and working hard. She's gone out the room now. I can say she's really nice to work with. She's lovely. Yeah. And then, you know, her daughter packs our kits. She's got a law degree. But she's sheltering. So, you know, she does proofreading for lawyers. You know, she's incredible brain on her, but she's still fascinated by what we're doing here, which is physical and practical and historic. And I'm so flattered. I'm just amazed. And, you know, and Frankie and Georgie, sisters who do kit production, they're just on it. You know, yesterday, I think they sent out 200 orders. I mean, I did all the ESOPs ones because all the mistakes are going to be in the ESOPs ones. Which is worrying. I kept saying to it's all down to me if somebody's missing something. So I think we're all right. I think we're good. But Laura and I have done that together in this room. Anyway, sorry, Elwyn, yes, you were the one that answered. Now, have I pronounced your names correctly? I do apologise if I haven't.
My name is Elwyn. It's a Welsh name, but I'm not Welsh.
Yes.
But I was named after a very nice girl my father knew.
Oh.
So that's the story. That's the story. I just want to echo what was mentioned by the young woman who just spoke, and I also want to apologise for my photo. I look a little bit like some sort of spectre. I had technical problems before, and my laptop wasn't giving any image at all, and now I've got this dreadful light in here, which is it's added about 10 or 20 years, I think, to me. But I just want to echo how important your website and your videos have been to me personally, and I'm sure to many others. Yeah. I don't have a daughter, and I have 2 sons, but neither of them are married yet, and neither of their girlfriends are interested in embroidery. So I do my embroidery, which my husband occasionally will inquire about, and he'll say, "How's your knitting going, darling?" And things like that. But he takes an interest in what I'm stitching. But for me, it's so lovely to feel as though I am part of some tribe, as you put it, of other people who like stitching with wool, and I like doing other sorts of stitches as well. And there's a limited opportunity to connect from around the world. I'm in Melbourne, in Australia, and for me, it's thrilling, you know, to log on to your website. If I can't sleep at night and I'm awake at 3 in the morning, I totally log on to my computer and start watching your how to do stitching videos and things like that.
That's so nice of you. That's so nice of you. Thank you very much, Owen. And I'm beginning to think that, you know, I mean, I do get hate mail occasionally and things, and you just think, and you take that far too seriously. Not from stitchers, just from random people, or somebody comes on Facebook and they're being horrible, and, or, you know, they just, and you just think, am I going to allow that to undermine me? And it's so easy to let me Richard, can you stop filling on with those things so I can see you? Sorry. We've only been married 5 years. I haven't got him trained yet. How long have we been married? 3 years. Not fully trained, just saying. Nice ex-wife, though. Thank you. And I've got my dog very much. I mean, I've lived on my own before in patches of my life, and it's meant such a lot to me that other people value what I do, you know, whether I'm going to somebody else's class, you know, and I've been on lots of different workshops with lots of different tutors, and just sitting next to somebody else who's also learning, you know, and by the way, I am the worst student in the world. I'm just admitting that, because I don't pay attention, then ask lots of questions, and then I don't like it. I'm terrible, absolutely terrible. If I was on my class, I would chuck me out, honestly. So I get it when people are panicky, or they're late, or they're anxious. I get it, because I think I'm that person when I'm teaching. But when we're in our own homes, the way we have now with Zoom teaching, we are actually using our correct scissors that we like, you know, that we value, that we don't want to take on a workshop, or we're using the equipment, or we've got the lighting right, you know, or I like sitting in natural light with my left shoulder to the window, sideways onto the window, because the light goes under my right hand. I have the right hand on the top, and things like that mean a lot to me. So if I'm in Hampton Court with, you know, 10 other people squished into a room, I'm thinking, oh, I don't really like her. And she's noisy, but I'm noisy. Maybe we should separate now. And you know, I'm full of stupid thoughts that really I should just be stitching. But when I'm at home doing a Zoom class, I'm just stitching and asking when I need to ask. So I think in a funny way, we could have real advantage from this, and it could train me to be a better student when I go on other workshops, and hopefully a better teacher. So, you know, and Richard teaches music at the conservatoire in Glasgow, and he's been doing a lot of this and breakout classes. So I've got the dog up here because she's been very noisy. She's got long nails on the floor. It's like having a Bella, just look away. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I think hopefully we'll all benefit from this time, rather than, you know, as long as we stay well and keep our mental health going. But this is certainly a way that my mental health has improved a bit. Hopefully.
Well, here in Melbourne, we have been in lockdown from really from March until weeks ago, for a very, very long time. Yeah. And so what you do makes a difference. So keep doing it.
Well, Bella likes it because I'm at home more. Does anybody else like to ask a question? Or yes, sorry. Could you just say your name, or do you not want to say
me?
Yeah.
I'm Kay.
Hey.
I was quilting up until Easter. Then I decided I wanted to do embroidery. And then, of course, we had, just before Easter, then we had the lockdown. I just wanted to say, Phillipa, I think there's two things that are brilliant about your videos. One is your lovely, bubbly personality, because very often embroidery is seen as being very serious and old lady-ish, and you certainly aren't either of those.
I'm an old lady, but yeah.
Well, not as much as you think you are, but don't worry about that. So yes, your lovely bubbly personality, and the fact that things go wrong and you break village tables when you put the frame together, you know, it's just brings it alive rather than just being fuddy-duddy historical. But what I really wanted, well, I wanted to say a few things, but the thing that I found most empowering, and it works, is you say, if it doesn't look right, just add in a bit more.
Yes, don't snip it out. No.
Well, I've done that a couple of times, but very infrequently. I've just added some more in. Whereas when you do quilting and applique, if you add more in, it makes it lumpy and it doesn't work. Whereas your embroidery, it does. And that is so good, because then you just carry on and then it comes together.
Yes.
And you get a much better finish.
It took me so long, Kay, to know that. And that's why I keep repeating it, because there are new people coming in every day. More people look at our videos. I mean, how many, Karen, have we got?
Oh, we're getting about 1,500.
About 1,500 now.
But no,
amazing, isn't it?
And we're coming to 13,000 followers on Instagram.
Did you hear that? 13,000 followers on Instagram, and we only just started in the spring. You know, that compares to people doing exercise videos. So that's very heartening that people, that's Karen there. She's now on her screen. Can you see her? On her knees. She's a lot younger than me. She can still kneel on hard surfaces. Anyway, yeah, well, thank you very, very much, Kate. And that's really nice. I mean, if there's anything you want us to talk about or video or do, just keep coming back at us, because Karen will say, oh, she's always coming up with ideas. She's always asking me to do something I don't want to do. So I trust you guys will ask me something I do want to do. But we are planning to do things like go to Muncaster Castle and look at the collection together and have a live look at the castle and record, so you can see really, really closely into the embroideries. I mean, I've got thousands. I've got 17,000 pictures of embroidery on my laptop. So I have got so many pictures from all the tours we've done, all the places I've studied, and you know, some of the photos date right back, but Karen's been back and taken them more, and we've had professionals now, because we've actually got some money in the bank, taking pictures for us, and we've got a really good amount of images, and we want to share those. It's pointless having them, you know. I mean, my daughter's catch line always is, Mum, if you die before you write all this down and collate it, I will kill you. So that's what she's, yeah, because she wants that. She knows nothing about this, really. She always says she knows nothing. She does know a lot, but she always says she knows nothing, and she's asking me the questions, which is good, because it challenges me to write it down and get it into a form that can be shared. And I personally am more comfortable with talking about it than writing it down. So, you know, I think that's fine. But I mean, I advise auction houses. Auction houses ring me up, museums ring me up, asking me to look at the pieces they've got in their collection that they've been, you know, looking at, or they've got it allocated into the wrong section, or they've got doubts about it, and they ask me for a second opinion. And it's very flattering, but it means I've got loads of other images too from them. So it's great, and I can use them, because auction houses, there's like a no man's land between somebody selling it and somebody buying it. When it's on the auction site, you can use those images. I mean, you should be looking at, I think, if you're going to research a subject, look at auction houses and just Google in to saleroom.com, and then Google a subject that you're interested in, and everything comes up, past and present and future things. And you've had experts, well, not always, to be honest, but you've had other people cataloging them and giving opinions on what they are. And of course, so many of things, because textiles don't have a very good written narrative, and they don't come with a label saying, oh, I bought this in Harrods in 1940. They don't come with that. People, the minute they get it, they snip the label off. So, you know, but when you start specializing in a certain period, in a certain technique, you will develop an expertise just sitting down for a week looking at things. It's really, really easy now to look at those. And then you get really sympathetic colors as well with that era and those stitches, and tying those together is something I'll never know enough about personally. But anyway, is anybody else got a question before we say goodbye? No? Okay, Richard, are you going to he's doing his other work now. You're bored, darling.
Oh, there's a question.
There's a question. Oh God, what's the question? What's the question? Sorry. Yeah, Sally?
Again, sorry. May we join the one later too?
Sorry?
May we join the one later too?
Oh, yes. God, if you really want, it's a different set of questions. Do you know what I did? I put pink and blue. So I put sunset and sunrise. That works for me. I'm so color-coded. It's terrible. So your questions, I hope, did I answer everybody's questions that wrote a question? Are you okay?
Yes.
Phillipa, for me to be part of a community like this has been amazing. I was born and grew up in the UK, but I live out in South Africa at the moment. And I think I'm the only person that I know that does this. So to be part of something like this has been absolutely amazing, and I can't thank you enough.
Oh, I'm glad you can come out. I was a closet embroiderer for a long time because none of my friends did it.
I bore everybody with it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much, everybody. And a Merry Christmas. And we're going to play some music out because this is why I married him. I'm just saying, you know, I'm really. I love that, and I don't stitch music because it's never the right beat. But yeah, the one bit of advice I'd leave you with is get into the rhythm with your stitches. Get into the rhythm while you're on your own, and you can just hear that beat. Your stitches will get better and better if you get into rhythm. Don't try for neatness, try for rhythm, and that's all I'd say anyway. So thank you very much. I've got Jane Beth from Scotland, and Elizabeth, and Elwyn, and Emma, and me, and Karen over there on the techie side, and Richard, and Kay, and Marion, and Rosie, and Helene, actually, I nearly called Laura Helene. Hello, Helene, and Sally, and Eddie. Eddie, did I pronounce your name wrongly? Tell me not.
It's Edie.
Edie, I knew it. Next time you just, okay, tell me off. Okay. Anyway, lovely to be with you all, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm deeply flattered and honoured. Thank you. But Richard will play the music now if you want to hear some carols.
I've got to mute you.
You're going to mute me. I can mute me.
Yeah.
I can mute me.
Thank you.
I'm doing it.
Okay, you're not muted.
That's it.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely to see you. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas from Laura.
Merry Christmas. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We don't want to leave, do we?